Hi, everyone. Today's going to be a really fascinating and fun conversation because we're going to be talking about specifically looking at like one of the most overlooked critical bottlenecks, I would argue, in the clean tech revolution. And we're talking about high purity phosphate, not the kind like of you're thinking like nutrient or big agriculture for growing tomatoes or food. We're talking about battery grade purified phosphoric acid, the type that powers LFP batteries. So we're talking about your Tesla 3s, all of these, BID, whatnot, your grid storage system. But we're going to kind of turn the lens in on humanoid robots. So with China dominating about 90% of the LFP cathode production and controlling much of the global phosphate supply chain, the West has a strategic gap it needs to fill. And that's where I see, and we'll ask John that question. That's where I think First Phosphate can come in. And they're a Canadian company with igneous phosphate deposit, which is critical and important, in Quebec, which is also critical and important. That's not only geologically rare, which we love rare things, but also chemically ideal for conversion into high purity phosphoric acid. So this just isn't a mining story. This ties in very deeply with an entire movement in Quebec towards clean energy and being a dominant world leader. It ties in the narrative of energy security and supply chain within Canada and any of our trading partners. So, and also this dream of, if you tie into what China's doing with Elon Musk, millions of robots, humanoid robots, never mind the big Optimus robots that are building things that are promised for the future. So, John, we've got John Passalacqua, CEO and director at First Phosphate. It's always a pleasure to speak with John. He knows so much about this space in general, the sector, and he's tied in with every facet of this and has done such a phenomenal job to date of moving First Phosphate along to that end goal. So how are things going, John?
Everything's great, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
So this is going to be a fun conversation, but maybe I'll take a step back and just have you remind people of some of those key things that makes First Phosphate so unique and rare. And that's what people love to see is a nuance within a nuance, is understanding where we get these critical metals is important, but also of what an interesting and rare story that you have.
So First Phosphate is a mineral development company. We're developing the purest phosphate in the world from igneous rock in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region of Quebec, which is just about 2 hours north of Quebec City. It's in the area of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, where you might know Rio Tinto's got its aluminum smelter facilities there. It's a very industrial region of Quebec. Some of the rarest phosphate found in the world from igneous rock. You might say, well, why? Well, igneous rock's important because it's so pure that 100% of that material goes into what's called purified phosphoric acid, which is the precursor for battery. So it's the highest form of phosphate in the world, and you can't get to that with all deposits. You can only get to that, if you're using sedimentary deposit, which is 95% of the world's phosphate deposit. Those are mostly just for agriculture, right? Yeah, you've got the deck up there. If you go up a couple pages, you'll see our purity profile and why it's so important. So we're able to create a lot of what you see on the right there, which is the purified phosphoric acid from the deposit at Bégin-La-Marche. Yeah, so if you look there at the top, I don't know if you see my cursor moving or not, but First Phosphate is about 41% pure P2O5, which is the measurement of phosphate, and it's purer than all of the other phosphate phosphate deposits you find in the world, which is only 5% of the global phosphate. And then the 90% of phosphate, this red area, the sedimentaries, we're way above them. So we're able to make a lot of purified phosphoric acid, which is what you need for electrification. But what's more important, we don't even have to go through the fertilizer market. We completely bypass the fertilizer market, which is commoditized, and we go right into that high purity where the big wedge is going to be, where the big takeoff is going to be, and where the big supply constraints are going to be. And we're prepared for that. First Phosphate does that. We will be mining pure igneous rock. We're very well ahead. We finished our PEA that shows a $2.1 billion net NPV and IRR of about 37%. And then from there, we are able to purify that phosphate thanks to the technologies that's provided by our strategic partner, Prayon out of Belgium, the world's largest producer of purified phosphoric acid. They're providing technology to then refine our phosphate concentrate that comes from the mine into into phosphoric acid, which is then used, a high purity, which then can go into creating phosphate for batteries as well. And then from there, we move into making iron phosphate and lithium iron phosphate, which is the powder. Yeah, you see that in the third pillar there, LFP cathode active material, and then that's sold to others who then put that into battery packs and battery cells. And I know everybody's on EVs. EVs says, "Oh, EVs, Trump doesn't like EVs." Okay, fine. Well, EVs is only about percent of the market share for LFP battery. The rest of LFP battery is things like energy storage. So whether it's your battery wall in your house, whether it's your batteries when you go up north, whether it's or down south, wherever you go, to remote areas, batteries for large scale grid storage. So if you see all the storage that's coming off of solar, wind, and even other forms of power, that's all stored on batteries. But what's more important, it's also storing the energy that goes into data centers and into manufacturing facilities, because all the power now, because everything's so sensitive, has got to be very regulated on the way in. So you have to take that and you have to put that through some type of a battery system. All that's on LFP battery. And then once it gets into the shops, which are going to be the factories of the future, such as NVIDIA's new factory, I believe is it in Arizona? That's all going to be running automation. So all the automation, all the robotics, everything else for the onshore in North America, all that's going to be on LFP battery as well. Then you've got also, small scale mobility, scooters, bikes, wheelchairs, things like that. All that's on LFP battery. And I don't know if you caught on to the problems that were in Spain with the big energy short that they had, but all that could have been prevented. They said if they had battery storage, LFP battery. So we're talking like hundreds of millions of tons of this material that we require in the Western world. We have zero production again. It's all in China. All that's coming. The Green Energy Association of North America said there's already commitments for $100 billion of that 2030. And so all of that's coming to North America. And there's one company called First Phosphate, which is the furthest ahead in building out that entire supply chain, LFP, starting from high purity igneous phosphate to purification of the phosphate to the LFP cathode active material. We've been working diligently for now. So I know that went on a little bit, Andrew, but I'll pass it back to you.
No, that's perfect, because it paints the picture of like, especially we put into context, like seeing like Howard Lutnick on CNN or CNBC, and he's talking about, we're going to see the greatest surge in training, or what we call tradecraft, training people about robotics, mechanics, engineering, electricians for high-tech factories, and we're going to use robots here. It's cheaper than cheap labor overseas. So he's acknowledging that, and that's happening now. The Renaissance will be the greatest factories in the world with high-tech people, and they're spending a ton of money to train people up. And to have a deposit that they can get access to without having to ship and this and that, else. It's in Quebec, in a very friendly area, and we're going to get to a clip here in a minute. That's a lot of green light go. And once again, this is the Trump administration acknowledging that they're going to need critical metals. That when people say, "Oh, they're not into EVs," the EV story is so tiny compared to them in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia even acknowledging we're going to have all types of energy storage. We're going to have all sorts of things as we move forward into the future. And you guys are sitting in a fantastic not only physical place for this to have the right rocks, right geology, but to have this overall narrative quickly being understood, accepted, and realized at the highest of levels.
I tell a lot of people that are still bitter about the. Oops, you got me there?
Sorry, yeah, just we had a little bit of a break in the yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, Andrew, you're absolutely correct. We have a lot of people that are still living in the past, living in capital markets from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. But you have to re-rate. There's been nobody expected Trump with such a majority or such a mandate. Things are quite different, shifted. You still got to start looking at old stories, new stories, and everything a little bit differently. We got to get out of that sort of PTSD that we all have in the markets, and everything was so lousy. And you got to look at what makes sense. I really consider what's going on here as massive tailwinds for our company, and a justification, a validation of everything we've been doing quietly, for the past 3 years. We've also raised $20 million over the last 2.5, 3 years, and what were the worst markets ever.
Yep.
We're trading market cap, one that can really, give some value here. About $30 million market cap. We've got $2.1 billion NPV. That's just on the mining side. So we're trading at about 1.5% of that. So room to go here.
And we try to avoid politics, as you know, but I always have to talk about it in regards to permitting or just an overall macro kind of consideration. So we've got a bit of a clip here, and I'd love your feedback too. And it's from one of the debates. So it's a little bit old. It's from the Canadian federal debates. But Adam, if we could line that up, because this is very telling. Because remember, First Phosphate in Lake Saguenay, that's critical here of acknowledgement. We'll watch this quick little spot here.
Blanchette, I believe, from the Bloc Québécois, were in the federal leaders meet about 2 weeks ago. Wasn't that long ago. It feels like it was long ago, but it's only 2 weeks ago.
It's only 2 weeks. It does seem like months and months ago.
Yeah, the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, Conservative NDP and Bloc Québécois, which obviously represents Quebec. Yves Blanchette, who we know well from the Bloc Québécois, was asked a question about critical minerals in Canada, and obviously he's going to answer in favor of Quebec. But look what he answers. It's just truly amazing.
Of allowing these minerals to be mined.
Of course, it has to be done properly. Quebec has probably the most important clean phosphate reserves in North America. In Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, it is very important. It has to be exploited. This is the best way to use Paul Saguenay as an infrastructure that we need. We have lithium. Everybody needs lithium. Transportation has to be taken from oil to clean energy. This is what.
So that's good. I mean, right there. Without just saying, "Hey, it's First Phosphate," I pretty much said, "Look at what First Phosphate has done and what they're doing and what they're building." And you guys are a very important piece of that puzzle. But Quebec is so forward thinking on so many different projects that they have every intention of being like a world leader province, and I would hearken larger than that, like a large entity in the trading world as far as energy of the future goes.
Yeah, so it's important to know that in the jurisdiction in which our mining claims and our mine will be is Jonquière, and the representative of that riding is Mario Simard. He's been with the Bloc Québécois. He was there in the previous election before that, and he's now been reelected. He wrote us a letter of support with the blessing of Monsieur Blanchette from the Bloc Québécois about a year ago. But now the Bloc is in a really serious position of power in government. So the last government had the Liberals that were governing together with the NDP, who had official party status and had more seats. Now the Liberals can govern with the NDP, but the NDP do not have official party status, but the Bloc Québécois does. So for the committees and for all the approvals, they're going to require the Bloc Québécois. So it's going to come to a situation where, in order for the Liberals to be able to have the Bloc Québécois what they want, and vice versa. So if you go to the some of the links that you'll find, they're in French language as to the campaign platform of the Bloc Québécois. They talk about phosphate, and then very quickly they talk even about First Phosphate, like half a page, full page. They want phosphate to happen in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, and they want the battery sector to happen. And basically, we're pretty much the only company in that area that is, Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean and First Saguenay. So you can almost imagine who they're talking about. There's a couple of smaller companies, or even some larger ones further out. But we believe that we're the focus of their discussions there, and so it's going to be very interesting. The kind of support that we're going to see out of federal government, I would hope, behind First Phosphate, and certainly the support out of Bloc Québécois. I mean, they've done a really good job, that party, in getting to know our project, visiting, going through everything. So we're very happy that the political landscape has finally started to come in our favor. Last thing I'll add also to, at Port Saguenay, it's a federal port. As part of the election, you also heard from the other parties. You heard from the Conservatives. You heard from the Liberals. Developing port infrastructure, federal ports, to be able to export around the world and not have to always, seek exports in the United States. So that we're in a really excellent position here in terms of a mega project. I wouldn't even say a mega project, like a larger project, a good project, to come online and really give Canada everything that it's looking for in this next legislature.
It certainly shows like the tailwinds are there, and even though the general flair of the minute can be changed by news flow down south, the overall recognition by the entire world, and I'd even argue including down south, is this movement, and it is happening. And I always reiterate to people when they're watching is to stay true to the course of the long-term narrative that's happening. Don't get kind of distracted by EV sales are down a little. Who cares? Like it doesn't. It to me it's almost irrelevant blip that they have to be down for a short period of time, because there's a number of reasons why it could be that. It's not movement. This is happening. It just is going to happen, and having that recognition too from all parties of acknowledging that Canada has a real key role to play in this energy transition, I think is great.
Yeah, look, Andrew, during the time of Trump's election till about January, when everyone was freaking out about EVs and selling anything related to EVs, I mean, all of our downstream offtake with First Phosphate has nothing to do with EVs. We have offtake with Altian. We have offtake with American Battery Factory. All that is energy storage systems. So we're not even too interested with the EV sector, but everyone started selling stock of everything. And I personally bought about 600,000 of stock between about December of 2024 election until about March, April of this year. It's all been filed on SEDI. I think I'm the CEO who's bought the most amount of stock in Canada of any micro cap, medium cap, large cap, whatever you want to call it. I bought all that stock. It's all filed on SEDI. Our board also bought much of it. I think we bought about $900,000 in total. And so, everybody to get out is now out. Understand the story. People understand where we're going. And this narrative of, it's even stronger. It's never been stronger. What's going to happen with LFP and phosphate in North America moving forward here. And it's not even dependent on any, president or prime minister. It's just the future, just the future of electricity, the future of these AI data centers, the future of energy storage, the future of robotics, of everything. So you can even forget about EVs. We have, I don't even, First Phosphate will ever serve the EV market. We don't need to.
We play around with different kind of models here as well, and we'll just ask, we've been training up some large language models and go, listen, if Elon Musk wants to make 5 to 10 million robots by 2030, like even if he just did 1 million, what's that going to take? So like it's going to take 70% expected growth in copper, roughly 400 to 600% lithium, 100 to 200% of nickel, and what I'm kind of getting at is what's that cost in money? Like 800 billion more investment in copper, things like that. And that's just robots. So you either think, oh, it's insane, we're never going to have robots, or no, those are coming, but where is all the metal going to come from? And when you have a rare, ultra rare, high grade, high phosphoric acid that's critical to make these robots even go with life batteries, lithium iron phosphate batteries, you don't even have to do too much math to realize you've got something they want. And that's just Tesla. That's not even discussing the myriad, Boston Dynamics, the myriad of Chinese companies that are out there that are currently building robots as well, that their capacity and their hunger for that is going to be extreme rapidly.
100%.
So what are some of the things that you see in the short term? Because I see, and we're going to tie this into the fact you're doing $1 million raise here, and I think it's worth noting because and someone can go right to your press releases, see SETI and whatnot, and see you have been very vocal and out there showing that you're buying, and that is a level of conviction, and especially with your expertise in this space and how much work you've done in the short period of time to get First Phosphate to where it is, that would give people a very strong indicator of commitment by you, the management, as to what you can do and where you see this going. And I think that's a signal compared to so many companies. And I can say this as well. One I really, really like is Palantir. Has nothing to do with you guys, but I love Palantir. We did very well with Palantir. But Alex Karp sold off a ton of stock, and he got a bit of flack for it. But I mean, the stock ran up massively. Whereas this is sending a different signal of you're buying a ton of stock. And that should be a go signal to anyone that's working in a space, who's got their head down in the data all day long and talking to people all day long about this critical need. That should be a big green light to anybody who wants to take a look at, once again, a longer time frame of an investment that has the possibility of asymmetry, I suppose you could put it.
Now, look, I mean, Andrew, as you know, I invest. I've been an investor for a number of years. The reason I became CEO of this company, because I just saw such a massive opportunity, and I didn't want it to go wrong. I've had issues before with, management, so I'm not doing as well as sometimes we expect. But I'm buying here. I'm buying into this company because I know this company. I know the management. I trust the management. I believe in my team. I believe in myself. And it's just great when you got management on your side. So it's an easy decision for me. I know it can be difficult for others, but for me it's simple. I know management and team. We've got just an amazing team. It around this time, a good team with almost zero attrition, and I'm so glad. And I think if anybody can do it, we're going to be the ones to do it, and it's coming soon.
Yeah, and I mean, in a time whenever, like we've all recognized the junior markets in Canada, especially, are abysmal. You've plowed through and remained unfazed and done so much work in a terrible market that for anyone that would even consider thinking, oh, maybe I'll sell out now, it's like, why would you go through all of that and all the work they've done whenever the end isn't like right here tomorrow, but the end is coming close. I mean, you have a resource, you have metrics on it, you have a government coming in on all levels that are keen on getting this done. So that's the type of story that I kind of look at as being, and this isn't a forward thinking statement, but it's got like an intrinsic built-in value that's not being reflected anywhere, but that's stored up, and kind of like it can ignite kind of thing, or explode.
Well, that's the way I look at it. And there was a famous movie, European movie, where, World War II, some of the fighters that were protecting, southern and northern Europe, they were in the trenches for 3 or 4 years, and then right when the war was over, the day before the war was over, the guy just steps out and just allows the troops to shoot him. And it's like, if you fought for so long, and you've for 3 years, just wait an extra day, right? It's almost sad, but a lot of investors have developed PTSD in this market, where we've thrown out the babies in the bathwaters. I just encourage investors, it's now in our favor, right? There's no need for us to be afraid anymore. If you feel that you got good companies, I think good companies are not going to be thrown with the bathwater like to be. I think the market is under a stock where everyone's selling. The stock market is the market of look for the stocks that you like, look for the ones that you think have survived this, because those that have survived are going to be extremely strong. And people ask me, what about Northvolt? What about all these other companies that went bankrupt? They had millions and billions and close to trillions. And I'm like, that's okay. Let's just, like I told everybody, we're going to out-survive them all. We're resilient. We work hard. We work, every day we build a brick, we put in a foundation. And so, now's not the time to be selling. I think all the selling has been done. I think now's the time to be looking at good companies, evaluating them, and if you like them, I think you better get on board fast, because they're not going to stay where they are for too long. I won't mention the word First Phosphate there, but I'm just speaking in generics. But please have a look at First Phosphate and see if it meets any of those requirements. There's very few but very good, tremendous values out there in the market right now that you can kind of say, well, this was the baby, right? Bathwater, it's gone down.
Yeah.
Let me pick up the baby. So
let's pull up a couple of these slides. So you guys have a couple of slides that are really informative on your website. I mean, you've got tons of information on your website as well. I encourage people to go take a peek. But there's some here on like robotic growth that I think it's worth taking a peek at, like the humanoid robotic growth, never mind industrial size growth, that's being acknowledged by everyone. So once again, it's not just marketing. I mean, that's the jobs that are coming back to the US. They want to build chips. They want to build cars. I mean, Tesla Optimus is a robot. It's building Teslas. That's the future. So I always like to find an interesting way to talk about the future, the big hope of where things are going, this kind of vision of where we're heading towards, and then tie it into in reality what's needed to make that happen. And in reality, that won't happen unless you have these metals. So it just can't. You're not going to have 1 billion robots or 10 million robots unless you have the metals to make all of those batteries that work. And that is something we have to keep in mind beyond the interesting conversation of how the technology works and that the risk can move a certain way and all the amazing developments, say at General Dynamics, that they're able to do. We have to look to see, do we have all the ingredients to bake that cake? And if not, we got to hurry up and get it. So there's also a couple there as well. You can look at the lithium iron phosphate battery market size and that growth that's expected. It's so healthy and so vibrant. And despite some noise out there, I just reiterate, that story is not changing. Nothing is being removed from that that ship that's heading in one direction.
Correct.
Yeah. So, John, tell me what this raise you're doing. What's the funds for? What do you guys like? Is it easy to get into? I tell me if it's true. I heard a rumor it's oversubscribed. So how's it coming along?
Yeah, so look, we just did a small raise here, just for $1 million to accommodate some shareholders that wanted to double up at this point, I guess what you could say, or wanted to increase their position. So it's just $1 million. I mean, it's already 2 to 3 times oversubscribed. I don't know where it's going to end up. We're just limiting it to existing shareholders who have been in there with us for the 2-3 raises now. If there's anybody who's interested, you can reach out to me at john@firstphosphate.com or just through our website. We could try to make room for good investors. And so, it's just a very small round, a bridge round perhaps to, what we hope are our next steps, which we've already made public, non-dilutive government financing, and some strategic financing. So, if you're interested, let me know. But it's just a very small round. We're looking for good investors only, those who would like to hold on for shares for a longer amount of time. First Phosphate, the liquidity on the market is picking up, the share price is picking up. But at the same time, we're looking for longer term investors. We're not looking for investors who are looking to clip warrants or come in, and be out in 2-3 months. We think there's some serious potential here, but you got to be ready to, 2-year kind of timeline like this. Just put it away, get rid of the PTSD. Don't have the fear like we have to have of all the capital markets. I'm here. I've dedicated my career now to becoming CEO of this company. I've put in over 1.5, almost $2 million of my own money. Our board is all very connected. Comes in on every round of financing, buys in the market. We own almost, I think, 35% of the stock. Our friends and family and the rest of the world is another 33%. There's only a very small float out there, about the 33% that's public. And so, I think we got this. We're here to really see this thing through. And that's what we're committed to, and that's where we're going with it. But it takes patience, right?
Yeah.
Seldom investors in the public markets. We're always chasing trends. We're also always chasing speculation. And that's the right thing for 2-3 month kind of trades, or 1 month or 1 week or 1 day or 1 second. But if you're looking for true value in the markets, you have to give it the time that it takes, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a very good time right now for companies like First Phosphate, because like I said, the tailwinds are now firmly behind us. The price is still very depressed from the big downstroke that we had in the market where everything. So it's such a good opportunity, either in the public market or in this financing, to come in to get involved with First Phosphate.
So any of you subscribers to us who have invested in the past, you can reach out to me, or if you've got John's email right directly as well. And most of the people that follow us, they know our model is that we don't trade. We don't look for a good trade. Like, we look for companies that are ideally vertically integrated at exploration and have a business. Like, we're looking at it as a business. And that means, it's all, you're going to hold it. You're going to hold it for a very long time, and we kind of say the same thing to people is kind of forget about it. But at the same time, what's great about having you on is that then it reminds people, because they might look at their statement and go, wait, What do I have this thing? What is it? And then they're reminded and they go, oh my God, okay, yeah, John is doing a lot. This reminds me of how important this story is, rather than them having to find out for themselves, what are they up to? What are they doing? It's good to have you on to just remind everyone the macro, the big picture, to the fine details of what's happening in the space, what's developing on all levels between government and capital markets, to get them riled up again. Because it doesn't take much once someone like and many of our people have bought, is that they were reminded, like, oh yes, that's a big narrative. There's a lot of very key critical pieces to this puzzle that are floating around, coming together all pretty rapidly now. So we really appreciate your time, John. It really helps help keep our people educated, keeps me on top of it as well, and refocuses that to ignore the short term and to focus on business. Is this going to be a business? And I see that it has every potential of being a very significant business, and we love that story.
Well, that's great that you say that, Andrew. Like if you look like at companies like Mosaic or Nutrien that are in the phosphate market, the fertilizer market, it's the lower grade phosphate, but they start right from the mines and they go all the way to produce a bag of fertilizer. So, our model is to start with, the mine, the igneous mine, and to go right to of LFP cathode active material. I mean, those are companies that are in the billions of dollars of market cap. So if you can get to it and you can realize that verticalization, and look at it, look at what some of these crypto stocks are doing. These crypto companies are doing. They're in a new industry. They're creating a new vertical, and they've moved quite quickly. Because they're basically replacing some of the existing finance. So you got to look at that constructively as well here on the technology side, because we are a technology company first and most. And we're looking to do that, not create a bag of fertilizer, but create a bag of LFP cathode active material. And who else can do that? There's very little competition out there. There's nobody else who's taken this kind of approach that we have. And if they do, they're going to be well behind us. So, that's going to have to happen. There is going to be this LFP cathode active material here in North America. And every day it gets more and more real, in the same way that crypto, it took a while, but it became very, very real. And at some point, when you get the institutionalization, you get the government behind you, like we're slowly starting to see here in Canada and the rest of the world. I mean, it doesn't take too long. So I would seriously suggest that everyone take a really strong look at what First Phosphate is, the model. It's ambitious, absolutely, it's ambitious, but I believe we have to be ambitious in life. I believe,
Yes.
our society, our civilization, has been very ambitious. If you look over the past 1,000 years, or even go further than that, and you look at where we've gotten, right? You have to be able to dare to dare, and there's no greater fear than fear itself, right? We've heard that before. So let's get out of our bunkers. The war is over. Capital markets are improving. Let's start to look for some real value out there.
Perfect. I love that attitude, and that is, we got to dream big, we got to go for it, and people like those stories too, because it isn't just a small company with a small resource. This is a big story, big possibilities, and it's happening, and you're putting all the pieces together, and that's why we love coming back to talk to you time to time to refresh everyone's memory and to remind them of what they're in. Or hey, listen, you need to be doing some research and start digging into it. You've got tons of resources on the First Phosphate site. Once again, we've got lots as well. You can reach out to me. I can forward you on. But John, we really appreciate you taking the time to help educate us, keep us in touch as well, and to remind us of what the goal here is, what the big prize is.
Yeah, and like I said, we're building a big house, and we're not just selling a big house, but we're building a brick. Take a look at what we've been doing since the beginning, with brickwork. And I think that's important. I think brickwork builds the magic work, right?
Yes.
So we're busy every day.
Excellent, John. Well, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon as well.
Thank you, Andrew. It's been great being on here anytime. I really appreciate your audience. Wish them the best.
Excellent. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you.